Hello, and welcome to today's presentation of our market entry strategy. This presentation was created based on research done by Alex Hall, Alyssa Jones, Lily Tran, and Irene Zrelak. This presentation will be discussing our identified opportunity to enter the Indonesian market with a high-quality pet food brand. We will begin by discussing the Indonesian market characteristics, continue with an overview of the current pet food industry in the country, and conclude with our strategy for entrance, as well as challenges that may be faced as this opportunity is pursued. As I mentioned, we will begin with an overview of Indonesia and the characteristics that make it an opportune market for entry. As a broad overview, Indonesia is the fourth most populous country in the world and has over 1,300 recognized ethnic groups. Their population of 272.1 million trails only China, India, and the US. Possibly the most unique attribute that differs Indonesia from the formerly mentioned countries is that it's non-contiguous. It is the world's largest archipelago and made up of 17,508 islands with over 120 active volcanoes and has a combined area that's 5 times larger than Germany. Islam is the primary religion. In fact, 9 out of 10 Indonesians are Muslim, and the currency used there is the rupiah, and $1 equals 14,247 rupiahs. When looking into the detail of the country's population, you can find that recent population growth has led to a primarily young population. Today, the annual growth rate is approximately 1.1%. Additionally, the Indonesian population is well educated, with a literacy rate of 96%. 55% of the population lives in urban areas. For comparison, in the US, over 80% of the population lives in areas characterized as urban. This shows that a large portion of the Indonesian population live in rural areas, which can partially be attributed to the geography of the archipelago. There are 5 major islands, along with approximately 30 smaller islands, that account for the majority of the population. In total, there are over 17,000 islands that make up the country. Java is the most populated island, followed by Sumatra. The urban population is centered in 5 major cities, the most populous of which is Jakarta, the country's capital. The country of Indonesia is characterized by numerous ethnic groups. While the dialect can differ from group to group, most people do speak the national language of Indonesian. As mentioned previously, Islam is the most common religion, followed by Christianity. The remaining population embrace Hinduism and Buddhism as their religions. Indonesia's economy is the largest in Southeast Asia and is one of the emerging economies in the world. Indonesia is categorized as a newly industrialized country. GDP growth in 2021 is 4.4%. The middle-class population is growing faster than other groups. In 2020, 1 in every 5 Indonesians was considered middle class. The middle-class group has been a major driver of the economic growth, as their consumption alone accounts for half of the household consumptions in Indonesia. The middle-class populations now have more disposable incomes to spend on leisure, higher-priced food items, entertainment, travel, and, as we'll discuss, quality pet foods. Indonesia's current president is Joko Widodo, and he is different than his predecessors. He's been represented as clean from corruption, pro-human rights, and business-minded. During Joko Widodo's presidency, he's been promoting several measures to encourage economic growth, investment in infrastructure, and human capital development, as well as lowering corporate taxes, reforming labor laws, and reducing bureaucratic and regulatory barriers to investment. The largest trade partners for Indonesia are the US, China, Japan, Singapore, and India. There is a 7.5% tax assessed on imported goods and a 10% value-added tax, both of which are important considerations when looking to enter this country for a market opportunity. When discussing entering Indonesia as a new market opportunity, there are a few nuances that make it unique. First, foreign companies that wish to sell products in Indonesia must utilize an agent to act as a distributor. A foreign company also may select to be one of the main legal entity types available, which are a representative office and limited liability company. Distribution centers can be established in the major cities, such as Jakarta or Surabaya. Since Indonesia spans multiple regions and islands, shipping and logistics tend to be complex, particularly to reach areas that are farther from the major cities. Shipping costs are also high due to the geography of the country. Digital communication is common and widely used throughout the major metro areas. Internet connection is rapidly reaching rural areas, helping to gain access to the 45% of the population that isn't living in urban cities. Companies use digital platforms and social media such as Instagram, Shopee, Tokopedia, and others. E-commerce is estimated to account for $21 billion in 2019 and will continue to see rapid adoption throughout the country. Now that we've provided an overview of the country and the population demographics, we want to take a moment to discuss why we chose this as the primary market opportunity. First of all, Indonesia has sustained a growth rate of 5.6% in GDP over the last 50 years. In the last 10 years, poverty has fallen to below 10%. 45% of the population, or 115 million people, are categorized as the aspiring middle class. This class is defined as those above the poverty line, but have not yet reached full economic security, as you would see with the regularly categorized middle class. With continued GDP growth, this population segment of the aspiring middle class will continue to increase in spending power and have more disposable income. Even today, this expanding middle class is the source of half of the total household expenditures in Indonesia. We will now transition to discuss the current pet food market in the country. Indonesian citizens embrace religion as a large part of their lives. As we discussed, the primary religion is Islam, which affects pet ownership. Traditionally, Indonesians view pets as animals to guard their properties, or they raise pets for their eggs, meat, or milk, however, more of them recently have now begun to view pets as a part of their families. This trend is especially seen in the upper middle class, which is starting to account for a larger part of the population. Due to religious and cultural beliefs, the majority of Indonesian pets are cats, followed by birds, then others such as rabbits, hamsters, and lizards. The dog pet population is small because, in their religion, dogs are seen as unclean. As citizens continue the trend of humanizing pets, the pet food market is expected to grow over 5.1% in the next 5 years. The top-selling main brands that are currently in Indonesia are Nestle's Purina, Mars, and Hill's brand. 95% of pet food brands in the country are imported, coming primarily from the US or from Thailand. Only 5% of the brands available are local to Indonesia. During the pandemic, pet ownership globally increased by over 20%. Due to this, coupled with the information that we presented in the previous slide, we are recommending introducing a raw organic pet food into the Indonesian market. The primary benefit of this type of food is the health benefits, which include boosting immunity, reducing skin ailments and allergies, minimizing digestive disorders, improving life expectancy, and maintaining a healthy weight. Due to the increasing humanization of pets, pet owners are more aware of the health benefits of feeding their pets quality, organic, and raw foods. The organic raw pet food market is slated to continue to grow over the next decade. We'll now discuss how we recommend entering the Indonesian market. First, raw products will need to be sourced as inputs for the pet food. Partnerships with farmers in the various regions can help to secure a reliable input source. The next step will be to market to potential consumers. This can be done through social media channels, and additionally, free samples can be offered at veterinary clinics and pet-specific stores. Distribution can be done through multiple channels. This can include regular supermarkets as well as any animal health clinic or pet food store. Since our entry strategy is to focus more on local appeal, partnering with farmers and veterinarians, we found it most important to focus on the regional and direct competition opposed to the nationally imported larger brands. Direct competition of ours includes any organic pet food brands that are sold and marketed on a local level similar to us. Luckily, there are not many of these direct competitors in the market in terms of offering identical products. Potential competition includes any organic pet food brand in the US or surrounding countries that are considering going global and entering the market just as we are planning to do. They have not yet entered the market, but if they choose to, they would be direct competition of ours. Our indirect competition includes any upscale animal care products in the market. A lot of times, companies or individuals like this may offer complementary products of their own or substitutes that may act as competition to our own products or have adverse effect on our sales. Finally, replacement competitors are any existing pet food brand that's in the market that isn't currently organic. This is especially prevalent from large retailers that may be imported from large corporations, usually at a lower quality and price point. There are a few challenges that we've identified when entering this market. The first is regulatory restrictions. Perishables and food products must meet all local and government requirements before being available for sale. Next is finding a reasonable price point to keep healthy profit margins. Although disposable income is increasing per capita, the working class is only willing to spend a certain amount for these types of products. Organic materials cost more, but at a high markup, they may not sell to consumers. Next, locating a reliable supply chain of local ingredients may also be a challenge. Considering the nature of our product and business model, being able to find local and sustainable suppliers that can accommodate our needs and shelf lives may be difficult. Finally, there will be some marketing challenges. Convincing middle-class individuals why they should spend a premium on pet food versus standard packaged food may hinder the success potential of this entry. We've come up with ways to mitigate the risks of the challenges that we've identified. To address the regulatory challenges, we can focus on preemptive hiring and research on a local level before operations begin to make sure that all regulatory conditions can be met without compromising the quality of our product. Regarding our pricing issue, we will take advantage of economies of scale and purchase our necessary ingredients in larger quantities to be able to sell at a lower price point. This will have higher startup costs with refrigeration trucks and other logistical services, but it will be worth it to get the cost advantage. To address the risk of our input supply chain, we'll find already established farmers and suppliers in the Indonesian market that supply products for other companies. This way, we have a reference of how existing companies operate logistically and can build upon those structures. Finally, we plan to target local veterinarians and animal hospitals specifically to address our marketing challenges. The kinds of consumers that can afford to pay for these services for their house pets are the exact consumers that we want to market to. Partnering directly with local animal health professionals and offering a small commission or discount incentive for sales is a vital piece to our marketing strategy. Thank you for listening to our presentation on the pet food market and industry in Indonesia, and how we plan to introduce our new raw organic pet food into that market.